Anytime you're ready.
Really?
Way to go.
Brad?
Anytime now.
Live from Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to a brand new season of the NFL, and that means NFL gambling. That's right, suckers. It's time to reel in another bottom line sports rocker podcast with Classic Rock 92.1 Beerman from the middays.
Hey, buddies.
From ESPN 1300 Radio here in Lexington, Kentucky, Brad Taylor.
Hello, fellas.
Author of the book, something. What's it called again?
Side Hustle.
Side Hustle and me, Dead Air Dennis. Hey, fellas.
Hey, buddies.
Is it really football season again? It feels like we just did this the other day. And yet here we are, 6 months later, doing it all over again.
Do I have a Christmas tree in my living room? Yes. It must be football season.
Now, why would you have a Christmas tree in your living room?
Because this is Christmas to me.
Oh,
Football season.
I see. Well, you're squashing the headline, though. We have a headline. And that headline is, we're recording this on Wednesday evening. 2 weeks from today, we're taking a little trip, boys. We're going out to the desert. I thought maybe we should do our first show of the season from the desert, but somebody told me that was dumb. So we're doing it now. How do you guys feel about going to the desert in a couple weeks? Huh? Yes?
I think it's great that we're ramping up to the big desert. That way we'll have all the kinks worked out. Don't get kinky on me, Brad, okay? I know we'll be out of town. There won't be the usual soiree of people around me, like always. And I'll look like some kind of piece of meat to you. Keep your mitts off, okay, buddy?
No problem with that. But I can promise you one thing. Desert Brad is a lot different than Lexington Brad. I will promise you that.
I can't wait to see you shotgun a beer.
There are certain people who don't want me to do that. Namely, the people, A, who prescribe me my meds, and B, who are kind of in my life. They don't want me to do that.
So in other words, we won't talk about it on the air?
You're right. We will be doing it, but we won't be doing it to where others know about it. That's neither here nor there. But yes, I'm very excited. It'll be my second trip to the desert in 6 months. I am very excited, and I'm glad that you guys have ridden my coattails to stardom yet again. So yeah, yes, exactly. And we're going to have a great time out in the desert. We'll be doing this show from out in the desert in a couple weeks. So yeah, what are we going to do when we get out there? We're going to ride ATVs out there?
I think riding ATVs would be a blast.
Oh, you would, huh? Well, you might be on your own for that one. I don't think I'll be there with you.
Riding an ATV in the desert in 112-degree heat, it does not sound like fun to me.
It sounds perfect.
Well, I tell you what, Beer Man, you get your little schedule down of things you want to do. Are there other things you want to go see Hoover Dam while you're at it out there too?
No.
Well,
why not? I can take an ATV.
Oh. Can't you do that here? Don't they have one of those at Boonesboro Beach or something?
We don't have a desert here.
Oh. Well, you got a park.
We don't have sand dunes.
By the way, I've already won the first bet of the year.
Oh, what's the first bet?
I took the under 2 minutes on Brad kicking out his cliche, but that's neither here nor there.
Why do you have to do these things? I am trying to be a nice guy right now and take care of Miss Judy in her time of need. And all I get is, just the usual insults and humiliations. And I'm a little bit tired of it, to be quite honest.
Let's go back to your original text on this podcast where you said the usual amount of humiliations and irate comments about each other. You already stated that they were welcome.
Well, welcome is a term that could be used very loosely when it comes to this.
Subjective? Is that what you're trying to say? It's subjective?
Something like that. So let's get back to the real world here. First podcast in 6 months. Have we learned anything in the last 6 months since Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl last year? Is there anything that we've kind of learned about the National Football League since then, boys?
No.
I've learned that gamblers are not even hesitant to bet on Kansas City winning again in the upcoming Super Bowl.
You're right. They are not. They have the most money in the desert to win the Super Bowl coming up. Is that something that you guys are interested in investing in? The Chiefs winning the Super Bowl again this year?
No.
Absolutely not.
Oh, we'll talk about. I will say this though, their division, it's hard to pick anybody else but them. But the odds reflect that fact. We'll go over the divisions here shortly. Is there anything we got out of free agency, the draft, that kind of makes you think maybe there's a changing of the guard this year?
Well, Philadelphia certainly did a lot of work to shore up a lot of inadequacies, but I mean, that team just kind of got tired as the season went on. I mean, it wasn't just a deficiency in talent and injuries. It looked like the Eagles really kind of ran out of steam. So you wonder if there's not something that they're doing, their preseason and their training camp, if they're not conditioning themselves right.
That tush push takes it out of you.
Right?
I've heard that about you, Beerman. And if that's the kind of jokes that I'll be expecting the entire Vegas trip, you could leave those at the door, if you know what I'm saying.
I also learned that Joe Burrow does not know a whole lot about haircuts and what looks good. But you know what? I'm one of the rarefied people who don't care what Joe Burrow looks like as long as he's still standing upright in training camp.
That leads me to my next topic in question here. Joe Burrow is starting on Saturday night. Bengals and Bucks. You can hear that game on Classic Rock, 5:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff, if you are so inclined. Bengals 3.5-point favorites in that one. Are you glad that Joe Burrow is starting in this game, or would you rather see him maybe sit on the sidelines like the stars should be sitting on the sidelines?
What do you think? It'll be one series, right? It'll be one series. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I think it's going to be a great thing because if you go back to the last, I think 3 years, Burrow has gotten off to a very slow start.
But there are reasons for that too.
No, I'm well aware.
Last year they would have won the first 2 games had they not. Was it last year when they had the kicking problem? Their kicker pulled his calf or their punter. Well, I don't. Might have been evidence.
Last year I want to say was the appendicitis. So.
No, God, that was 3 years ago.
Was it really?
Yes.
Well, why was the
last year was the calf injury in training camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we started off slow because of that, but they had the game won if their kicker would have made the kick at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Which he didn't. And then the other team came back. And then the following week, in week 2 last year, their punter went out in the middle of the game, and they didn't have a punter to replace.
Was that against Pittsburgh?
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there are reasons, there are rational reasons for why the Bengals have gotten off to slow starts. But, yeah, I mean, I think that they want to start faster, and I think that's the reason why he'll be playing, I guess, a few plays.
What about week 1 of preseason? That's coming up here. Week 1 starts tomorrow night. Will you be wagering on any of these games in the preseason? I'm just curious.
I'm going to be depositing money into my account just in case.
He's betting. Yeah, I think that I will. You know, Brad, I've always kind of just spurned or didn't take the time to fool with it, but I think this year I might do it a bit. I mean, you had quite a bit of success last year betting the unders, and I forget what your other philosophy is for the preseason.
The Ravens to win.
Ravens on the money line, no matter what. Yep. We also. Yep. 37 is your magic number in the NFL preseason games. If you see a total of 37 or more, go under. It hits 56% of the time. If you see a number 36.5 or less, go over. That hits 56% of the time as well. So that's where we're looking at for these. Going the 37 route, the 37 number, so we can maybe cash in. That's the total. And, of course, road dogs, 3 or less. No neutral site dogs. Road underdogs, 3 or less. We have a few of those this week as well. We'll talk about those as we get further in the show today. But is there any... Go ahead.
Let's do it, for instance. The Eagles will play in Baltimore against the Ravens Friday night.
Yep.
The total is 34.5, so we bet the over in that.
Correct.
And the Eagles are 1-point favorites.
Yep. Go Ravens. How you like me now?
Okay. I found the perfect example of what you had just said, and I thought it would be a good moment to emphasize, to illustrate.
Wow, you're helping me, Dylan?
Yeah.
What I do. It's a new year. It's a new spirit. It's a new attitude from Dead Air Dennis Dillon here on the Bottom Line Sports Rocker podcast. By the way, I do have my mug my Bottom Line Sports Rocker mug with my big name on the side of it, BRAD, and the big NFL logo that was made for us. I still have it right here, and you guys,
Nice.
you can see it if you can look at the camera there on our Zoom call. Yeah, look, I've still got it right here. So yes, thank you
Why does
very
he
much.
want me to look at the Zoom call? Okay, I'm going to look at the Zoom call just because you asked me to, Brad.
How you like them apples?
there it is. Oh, that's right. That's the one I bought you. It really initially it just said Brawl, but we wrote
Brawl?
the D on for you. Yeah.
Brawl. It's like I have these new boxer shorts. They're Lucky Brand, and my mom saw them and saw that I had them personalized. That says Lucky Brad. No, I don't have personalized underwear. It's Lucky Brand underwear.
Mine are Duluth Trading.
Mine are,
Mercy.
yeah. Yours smell more like something else, but that's neither here nor
Might
there.
have something to say about your love life too.
No,
Yeah.
Duluth, they're fantastic.
Mine are the
Sorry.
exquisite
Underwear brand.
fruit of the loom. They are mine. So yes, I always liked the guy who was dressed up as the grapes, but that's neither here nor there. So there you go, folks. Those are my systems that I use in preseason. Always bet Ravens. If you could get them, if they're a favorite, get them on the money line. If they're a dog, take them as a dog. The 37 rule, anything 37 or more, go under. 36.5 or less, go over. And any road dog, 3 or less. And there are a few this week. Not many, but a few out there. Make sure to check your local listings as we get closer. We got 2 games on Thursday night, 3 on Friday night, and then all kinds Saturday and a couple on Sunday. So, yeah, big week for NFL preseason. I will be watching, I don't want to say intently, but I'll be watching scores and things of that matter. We do see a lot of line changes. We've seen the Bengals here open as 3.5-point favorites, now up to 4.5-point favorites. I would assume that's because Joe Burrow has been announced the starter, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and the total is 38.5, which is really high for a preseason game.
But that's why we take the under.
So that's why we're taking the under.
over 37.
But do we know anything about Baker Mayfield playing for the Buccaneers?
I do not know if Baker Mayfield is starting in this game yet or not. That's why a lot of these preseason games are Google contests. Who can get the most and more accurate information? I will be looking that up as the show progresses here. But I will say, betting splits. There are the tickets. 59% of the tickets are on Tampa to cover this 4.5-point spread, but 67% of the money is on the Bengals. That's sharp. That's a very sharp line move to the Bengals. That's why you've seen this line move a point in their favor since we got started. So preseason starting this weekend. And is there anything else before we get to divisional kind of odds and who we like in these divisions? Is there anything else that's kind of strokes your guys' fancy when it comes to the NFL?
Thought I would toss out there to see if you guys had any thoughts on the old faces and new faces. Some of the exciting new faces that'll be on the scene playing, and also old faces, old coaches showing up in new places. So, Beerman, I'll ask you first. Are you excited about anything in particular? I mean, obviously Harbaugh in San Diego or, well, Los Angeles.
Honestly, the one that somewhat intrigues me the most is Kirk Cousins down in Atlanta, mostly because that entire division is kind of bad. Is he going to be enough to make the difference for Atlanta to kind of walk away with that? Their quarterbacks were awful last year. Is the only thing they were missing a good quarterback, which, Kirk Cousins has probably built up a little bit more than he needs to be, but, is a B quarterback good enough to win that division?
Better.
He's got a lot of talent around him. That team has a lot. I mean, I think they just lost Rondale Moore.
Rondale Moore, yeah.
Yeah, but that team's got a lot of talent and a lot of promise. But I mean, that's and it's a very weak division. So, Brad,
Who would you rather have, Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels for this year? Maybe not long term, but just for this year, who would you rather have?
Obviously, I'm going to go with Caleb, but not just because I'm a Bears fan. The hype behind Caleb has been going on for 2 years that he was the presumptive number 1 pick. And I kind of put that to the people that are smarter than I am. There was still the question of whether or not Jaden Daniels or Drake May was going to be the second choice. But Caleb was the obvious, so they said, number 1 choice. So even if it's just this year, I'll take Caleb.
I think both of those teams are going to be better than expected, or at least average, which will be obviously a step in the right direction.
Yeah, this is going to be a little crazy, but I think Washington. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a better player for this year than Caleb Williams is, and that's just me kind of reading tea leaves and new coaching staffs and things like that. While the Bears kind of went out and got some guys to help Caleb Williams a little bit more than Jaden Daniels did. But yeah, I think Washington, you're looking at a nice little over win total team with them this year. Even with the Bears, I think they might be going over win totals. So I think they're at 8.5 right now. So that's another, those two teams right there with new quarterbacks. Those are a couple that I'm looking at. And the Anthony Richardson at Indianapolis kind of swing. That's one. We only saw him, 4 games last year, I think. That's another one that I look at and I see a quarterback. You don't really consider him a veteran because he only played 4 games. That's another one that could swing either way.
He only played in 2 games last year.
Was it 2? Okay, I thought that's double less than I thought it was. So, yeah, I think those are your 3 quarterbacks that you're looking at that could be feast or famine. And you want to call Anthony Richardson a veteran. No, I think he's kind of a new player. So I think those 3 guys are the ones you look at. But, yeah, as far as some other guys that I don't believe in, yeah, guys like Daniel Jones of the Giants, Bryce Young, Carolina, Derek Carr, Saints, those are guys I'm looking at and thinking, yeah, I think those might be going down with the ship as we get towards game action here towards the season.
Both of those teams, Washington and Chicago, are in divisions with a lot of strong competition. But I think they'll both. I still think they'll both, have good seasons in terms of growth, and they're going to surprise a few people. The it wouldn't surprise me at all to see the Giants fall to the bottom of the NFC East.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Washington move up to number 2 in the East. I just think there's so much turmoil in Dallas. Coach on the hot seat, whether or not the quarterback's going to come back. CeeDee Lamb, is he going to get a contract? They lost some pretty significant defensive pieces. Washington did a great job, I think, with pretty much everything in the offseason, but I somewhat question their new head coach. That's the only that's probably the biggest question mark that I have.
Well, plus, a new coach, new systems, new, assistant coaches, new faces, rookie quarterback. I mean, that's a big uphill battle.
It definitely is.
But they're still going to surprise a few people, I think.
Speaking of surprises, let's just go to these divisions and see what we can come up with in terms of maybe finding some divisional winners in the NFL this year. Because when I go out to the desert, I might be putting some paper money down on some of these. Yeah. Let's go to the AFC East. Your favorite, Buffalo Bills, plus 170. All our odds are coming to us via our friends at Circa. Don't forget, go to Circa to where the sports betting the way it should be, as they like to say. The Jets, the second favorite to win the East, only at plus 205. Dolphins, plus 228. And the Patriots, plus 1285. So basically, it's a 3-team race, Buffalo, Jets, and Dolphins. Dennis, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the AFC East division.
Buffalo's going to run the ball more. And I think they're going to try to turn into a more physical team. So there's a little bit of a transition going on there. Miami's defense, and I think is it their secondary that I'm questioning? There's still some questions about Miami's. I really want to hedge with the Jets in this division. I just think Aaron Rodgers, chip on his shoulder, and that team has a lot of talent. Obviously, the Patriots are a no-go, but yeah, I think that if I laid money on this division, I would take a chance, take a swing on the Jets. Beerman?
I took the Dolphins last year, and I'm going to kind of ride with them again this year. I know they kind of fell off, pretty much in the last 2 weeks, but who's Josh Allen throwing to now? And I just still don't think their runners are all that great. I don't think Josh Allen needs to run more than he does because as he gets older, injuries are more possible. I don't love that the Dolphins lost Vic Fangio, but I also don't feel like I just blanked on their coach's name. I don't feel like they had a great relationship. So it may be a little bit of addition by subtraction. You know, Tua got a new deal. Tyreek got a new deal. They still got some incredible receivers there. I'm going to ride with the Dolphins, especially for the kind of money that this one's paying. I don't know what to expect out of the Jets still. They've already kind of got into it in training camp. You know, I do think that this one's going to come down to the last week, maybe the last 2 weeks before we know, but I'm going to go with Miami again. I just
Are you
feel
talking
like
about Hawk Tua Tagovailoa?
Tua Tagovailoa. Yes. So yeah, give me the Dolphins in this division, especially if they're the third choice. I just think the best money is right there for who could win this division.
You can't help but think that the window is starting to close on Buffalo.
Absolutely. And you know, they lose Stephon Diggs. That's a major loss.
You know, I had him on a fantasy football team last year. He was not very good last year. He wasn't. I mean, he was out there. He was active,
yeah,
but it wasn't what everyone expected. Now, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Right, Brad? Brad, what do you think?
I like the Dolphins. I like that price. I like their coach. I like that little nerd, Mike McDaniel. I like him quite a bit.
Thank you. Think of that.
But it's now or never for Buffalo. And I think they all know it too. And the fact that what they did with Diggs, and there's kind of a sense of urgency with everybody there other than Josh Allen, which may be the thing that brings you down. But yeah, I'm going with Buffalo here because you're basically giving me the same odds. I mean, it's not like you have one team at 2-1, the other team's at 6-1, 7-1. This is plus 170, plus 205, plus 228. And I would not put my money on the Jets or Aaron Rodgers in this spot to save anything. And the fact that the Dolphins are the third favorite, that's the red flag that I get. If they're supposed to, you know, if they're going to be good, how come the Sharps aren't putting them maybe as better than the Jets? I think that's the thing I'm looking at. So, yeah, I'll take Buffalo here, but it's not a Mac Daddy Stogie because the Mac Daddy Stogie is coming up in this division. The AFC North. Your favorites right now, the Baltimore Ravens, plus 145. Bengals, plus 160. Browns, plus 525. Steelers, plus 715. Beerman, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the AFC North.
So at the end of last season, I put a little bit of money on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, and I still like that pick. That being said, you talk about a team that is going all in to try to get a Super Bowl, and I think that's Baltimore. I think Baltimore could end up with the best record in the AFC. I think they're going to win this division this year. I think Cincinnati's going to be right on their heels, and I do like them probably a little bit more in the playoffs. But I'm going to take Baltimore in this division to win the division.
Lamar Jackson is fat.
What?
PH?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said he was feeling fat during the offseason, so that's why he lost the weight. Well, you know, the Bengals last year had one of the hardest schedules in NFL history in the modern era, and you know, and this year I think they have like, you know, one of the easier schedules. You know, it's hard to take the Bengals over the Ravens, but I'm going to do it because the money's a little bit better, and I'm a little bit of a homer, so I'm gonna go with the Bengals this year because I think that there's something that's brewing there as well. But Beerman, I think you're right. I do think that the Ravens are. I think that they feel it, and I think that they also can feel their window maybe starting to shrink a bit. I'm surprised that the Browns is such a long shot, but now they've lost a few pieces, and they're going to start the season with some injuries. And I believe Pittsburgh's money line has gotten a little bit better from a few weeks back. You know, Pittsburgh, you can never count them out. It's weird. And I know that, like, and also I should, you know, somebody needs to mention that Baltimore has issued away a few of their pieces on the O-line. Kevin Zeitler is no longer there, and I forget the other guy's name, but, you know, Baltimore also historically has proven that they can replace O-linemen as well as any other team in the league. So we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe they traded off a couple of linemen to get Derek, what's his name?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. So, that's an interesting trade-off. We'll see how that plays out for them. But I'm gonna slide with my boys and the Bengals. We'll see what happens.
I hate to say it because you guys know that I am not emotional over this, but I think the Bengals might be the best pick on the board, plus 160 to get this division. Just because look at the rest of these teams. Other than Lamar Jackson, do you trust the situations of quarterback with Cleveland or Pittsburgh in this spot? I do not, especially Pittsburgh. It looks like Justin Fields will be the starter in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, he's starting Friday night. The exhibition game, but it also appears like he's going to start week 1 as well. And with the Browns, do you trust Deshaun Watson in a spot anything big game at this point? He hasn't really played a big game in 4 years now, 5 years. So
he's barely played football in the last 4 years.
Right. So yeah, this is about the quarterbacks, and you've got Lamar Jackson, a great quarterback, and Joe Burrow, and I'm getting the better odds with Joe Burrow and an easier schedule this year than Baltimore. So I'm taking the Bengals, one of my favorites. Also, one of my favorite win totals is under on the Steelers, because everybody will tell you, oh, Mike Tomlin's never gone under, never had a losing season. This is the year that ends. I'm taking under on the Steelers.
Would that change if they ended up with Ayuk?
No, because their win total won't change. Why should my opinion of them change?
Gotcha.
So, that's the way I look at it, because they're sitting at 8.5 now. They go out and get Ayuk for Magic Beans. It's not like they go up to 9.5. It's not like they go up to 10.5. They'll still be at 8.5. I'll promise you. So, yeah, and just like the Niners will still be at 11.5. So, it's the quarterbacks move the meter when it comes to win totals. It is not the Brandon Ayuks of the world. Although, it will help them, but it just doesn't move the meter in the desert, and that's the way I look at it. So, yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm with you guys on this one. I'm with you on the Bengals in the AFC North. Don't forget, you could hear Bengals and Bucks and on Saturday night, 5:30 on Classic Rock 92.1. Let's go to the AFC South, where the favorites are the Houston Texans, plus 106. Jacksonville, plus 295. Indianapolis, plus 310. And Tennessee, with Will Levis and Gia Duty, plus 975. Dylan, your thoughts on the AFC South?
What's the number on the Colts?
Plus 310. These are from our friends at Circa.
Yeah. I think the Colts defense is going to be pretty good, and we don't really know yet what Anthony Richardson brings to the table other than positive things. We've seen him, in only not even 2 complete games, and, he looked good. I think Indianapolis is the sneaky bet there. I think the Houston Texans is the obvious bet. And Jacksonville, are they ever going to get anything right? Trevor has proven that he can be a good quarterback, but he just can't win the tight games. He can't pull it out. Tennessee obviously is off the board for me. So I'm taking Indianapolis in a bit of a surprise upset because everybody's going to be on Houston. Beerman?
See, I feel like this is the year the turmoil's kind of gone away from the whole the dude from Ohio State, Urban Meyer. That's kind of gone away. They got rid of some of the players that were under him. I feel like the pressure's finally off Jacksonville, and this may be where they kind of sneak up and grab it. Whereas Houston had no pressure last year, so it was easy to go out there. I do feel like you're going to have a little bit of a sophomore slump for C.J. Stroud. And then not only that, I think eventually you're going to start hearing, 3 alpha receivers in his ear going, hey, you're not getting me the ball, including Stephon Diggs. Much like the AFC East, I think this one's going to come down to the final weeks. But yeah, give me Jacksonville as the sneaky pick in this one.
Stephon Diggs has proven to be a bit of a problem in the clubhouse, and he will ask for the ball, and he thinks he deserves it. So
he basically got kicked out of Minnesota. He basically got kicked out of Buffalo.
It will be interesting to see if there is any kind of issues in the clubhouse or off field with Houston. Yeah, I tend to maybe agree with you a little bit that Houston there might be a little sophomore slump in store for C.J. Stroud that most people don't want to see or don't expect. So maybe that happens. Brad?
You boys ready? Wrong again! Houston Texans, big in this division. One of my favorite over the win total bets. They started the spring at over 9.5 wins. The juice was even. Right now, you can find about a minus 140 most places. That's the money moving this line up a little bit. And if you look at the other win totals for this division, 8.5 and 8.5 for Jaguars and Colts, 6.5 for the Titans, 9.5 for the Texans. Yeah, the market is telling me, and the win totals are telling me, this is the spot to take the Houston Texans. I'm taking them, one of my favorite bets, to win their division. Yeah, I'm only getting plus 105 odds, but I just don't have enough faith in a quarterback in Anthony Richardson where we don't have enough to kind of judge on. And with Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, everyone's telling him, oh, well, you didn't deserve that $200 million or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, and maybe he'll get fired up for that or whatever. But yeah, the numbers and the market's telling me this is the Houston Texans division, and I will take it as such. Give me the Texans here. I love them to win this division at plus money. Let's go to the next division. The AFC West, where your favorites are the Kansas City Chiefs, minus 260. The next favorite,
Jeez.
Chargers, plus 357. Raiders, plus 840. We don't even know their quarterback. Broncos, 35-1, plus 3,500. We don't even know their quarterback. Is there any reason to consider anyone other than the Chiefs here? And are you going to lay minus 260, Beerman?
I do think there's reason to take somebody other than the Chiefs, and that would obviously be the Chargers. At what stage do the Chiefs go, look, we just need to play to get to the playoffs, and we're good from there? So how much motivation are they going to be able to bring after back-to-back Super Bowls to say we need to get up for every single game? I mean, they lost one game to the Raiders last year, if I'm not mistaken. Andy Reid is probably the best coach in the NFL, but he could have number 2 now in the NFL going against him, and he could have another top 5 coach going against him. Is Kansas City going to win the division? Probably. But the Chargers might be a decent pick. Harbaugh has a tendency to get a lot out of players that, I flash back to what he did in San Francisco. His defense was rough, and they'll beat you up. Does Mahomes make it through a full season healthy? Who knows? But if I had to put money down hoping to get a little payday, I'd go with the Chargers. But Kansas City probably wins this division.
Is this year number 7 for Patrick Mahomes?
I think so.
He's played almost injury-free for a long time. So is he due? Is that a weird way of putting it? I don't know. But I've got $10 on the Chargers just because it sounds like a fun bet. I also, but I will say that I'm concerned about Justin Herbert's training camp injury. Like, I don't know how serious that is, and I'd want to know a little bit more before I gave up $10. But Harbaugh does get a lot out of his players. He always has. He also gets a lot out of stealing signs. So I don't know. And the Chargers have historically played Kansas City well for these last several years. So that's going to be a good game. Those are going to be good games to watch this year. I just can't I'm not putting money on something like that, on negative money on a team that's, obviously Kansas City it's theirs to lose, but yeah, give me the Chargers. Who comes in third? Who knows? Probably the Raiders. Denver's got a lot of learning to do. I do think Denver's going to run the ball a lot this year. I think that they're going to do a ground and pound approach. So we'll see what Denver comes up with this year, but they had a lot of work to do on both sides of the ball.
I don't think the Broncos are going to be as bad as most people are assuming. I don't think they're the fourth worst team in that division. They were basically one win away from making the playoffs last year. How quickly everybody forgot that. Now, granted, they got rid of Russ and they're going to be going with a rookie quarterback, but I still have a lot of faith, in their coaching staff.
Is it Bo Nix?
Yeah.
Who's to say Bo Nix won't be this year's C.J. Stroud, right? You could make the argument. What's the over-under on their win total this year?
It is 7.5.
Wow,
pretty
that's
high.
Pretty high.
For a team that's 35-1 to win the division.
In a division with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Yeah. Interesting.
Let me double check that real quick, Because that doesn't
The
sound right.
Raiders, the thing that you can't forget about when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders is
5.5. I'm sorry. It's 5.5.
that sounds more right.
Yeah, I apologize.
The Raiders played really hard for Antonio Pierce.
They got the coach that they wanted.
Boy, I mean, and they've got a defense that's going to be really good this year. I think the Raiders defense is going to be top 3, top 4 this season.
What if
I really do.
What if I gave you all the prop that says you could get all 3 of the teams, like an old Kentucky Derby field bet? I'll give you Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders plus 210. Would you take that?
Why would I do that when I can get the Chargers plus
357. Well, unless maybe something else will tip in, but that's the prop here. Chiefs to win the division minus 260. For anybody else to win is plus 210.
I'd probably lay a little money on that. Pizza money, as you would say.
Okay. But you're also
I'll do pizza money.
Go ahead.
I'll do pizza money. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want any part of this division in terms of betting on it. It's the Chiefs, but I would never lay minus 260 on a division in the NFL or any kind of future for that matter at minus 260. So it's either Chiefs not to win the division or nothing, but the Chiefs are easily. I am so down on the Chargers right now, and because knowing about plantar fasciitis and having a little bit of health background, that's not something that when you get it, you just get over in a couple of weeks and then you're ready to go week 1. I'm telling you right now, Justin Herbert's going to struggle all year with this. And I read something the other day, someone that I trust very, very loyally, says that the skill position, running backs, receivers, tight ends for the Chargers are easily the worst in the league now that there's no more Austin Eckler, now that there's no more Mike Williams. Yeah, they had the worst skill players in the league. So all the coaching in the world is not going to take over the fact that you've got an injured quarterback and very, very weak skill position players. So, yeah, I am very much down on the Chargers as we go into this season.
Well, that's why I say the Herbert injury really, really scares me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Let's do $5 on the Raiders to win it.
$5, huh? Plus 840.
We don't know Gardner.
Aiden O'Connell.
Plus 840?
Plus 840 at the Circa.
All right.
Now,
I'm laying it.
Before we get to the NFC now, are you guys going to join me in the Circa Survivor contest and the Circa Millions contest?
It's $1,000, right?
It's $1,000, yeah. I just want to say that I've participated in this bad boy.
That's too rich for my blood, Brad.
I'll give you $333. How about that?
What? You give me $333?
I'll give you a third of it.
Oh. Well, that...
Here, man. What about you?
No, it's still very rich.
Step up. Let's just do it.
Step up.
Come on.
Well, we need
The odds of winning are astronomical.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm not going to win. I know I'm not going to win. I just want to be able to say, hey, I competed against the best in this little racket that we've got going here. I competed against them. And if I beat a few of them, hey, that's great. But if I don't expect to win anything. It's just the fact
I don't need that in my brag book. I don't care that much.
Well, I do. So there you go. And
we'll talk more about it in the Live from the Desert episode.
Oh, that'll be. I've already got my appointment. You have to get a proxy because you have to be in Nevada, so you have to have a proxy to put in your picks every week. So I have an appointment. I have an appointment on Saturday with a proxy, so you can come on down and join up with me if you like on Saturday afternoon. If you guys are still awake and alive by then, I expect you guys.
On the 21st through the 25th, we will be live from Las Vegas and the Circus Swim. It's going to be an exciting 4 or 5 days for all three of us.
Oh, the stadium swim, yeah.
Doing our radio shows live from the cabana, overlooking swimming pools.
Movie stars. Yeah, exactly. Can I expect you to do a cannonball, Beerman?
You got that right.
Will you tell everybody that you have an important announcement that you'd like to make before you did your cannonball?
I will say this. I will definitely do it as long as I'm not getting kicked out. I don't want to tick off any lifeguards or anything like that. I don't want to break the rules. But if there's no rule, I will absolutely do a cannonball. And I will say, I have an important announcement to make. Major breaking news. Cannonball!
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of people, Brad, right now petitioning for you to dress as Fat Elvis. I don't know why they put Fat Elvis in this email that I got.
I am
But they
growing my sideburns as we speak, so a little gray in them, but we can take care of that, so that's no problem. But
You got to color that. Elvis did.
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. But that would make Miss Judy very happy. I can promise you. So
Let's move on to the National Football Conference. What do you
National
say?
Football Conference. I'm sorry to have an aside there, boys. I apologize. Let's go to the NFC East. And the favorites there, of course, Philadelphia Eagles, minus 135. Plus 105 to not win the division. So there you go. Cowboys, the next favorite, plus 173. The Giants, 14-1. Commanders, 16-1. Dylan, is it anybody other than Dallas or Philly?
No, it's not. The Giants are going to be horrific this year. The Commanders, I think, might be a little bit better than what people think. What's the money line on Dallas?
Plus 173.
I mean, I guess, you can't dispute the talent in Dallas. They have a great penchant for creating strong O-lines. Dak Prescott, chip on his shoulder, I'm sure. I'm certain that he's got his own agenda. All the buzz right now is on Philadelphia. I can't lay negative money on Philadelphia. So give me the Cowboys.
Beer
My
man?
thought is Jared Jones did not help Dak Prescott in any way, shape, or form. And I don't know if he's looking at it going, I don't want to pay this kid $60 million. So if he can do it with almost no help, then we'll look at a contract. I don't think Dak is going to be there next year. I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to be there next year. I think it's questionable whether or not they pay CeeDee Lamb what he's asking for, and he'll be there next year. They may go into full rebuild mode next year. They did not set themselves up to win, and I know they're in salary cap hell, but Dallas, to me, is not even the second best team in this division. Philadelphia wins this division. I think the addition of Saquon Barkley pretty much assured that. You lost Jason Kelsey, but that O-line was great ahead of time. Jalen Hurts is trying to get paid here. I think Washington is your second best team in this division, but Philadelphia, I think, wins this division with 4 weeks left. I think it's going to be, they're going to be sitting on 11 wins while everybody else is trying to get to 500.
Philadelphia certainly has a lot of reason to want to get there. Are we giving picks right now on who we are going to put money on or who we really do believe is going to win the division?
Either one, whatever. We'll have our best bets at the end of who we're going to put our.
Yeah, because I think Philadelphia will win the division, but
Right.
if I'm putting money on it, I'm putting money on the Dallas Cowboys.
Plus 105 on Eagles not to win. Is that something that that includes? So you get Cowboys, Commanders, and Giants. Is that something that piques any of your interest?
No. Because if it's anybody else, it's going to be Dallas. So I'll take the plus 170.
Parlaying Chiefs and Eagles to win their division. Maybe another division coming up out west in the NFC. Is that something you guys would look at?
Yes.
I almost feel like Philadelphia's got a better chance at winning their division than Kansas City does.
Strong words from the beer man.
But that's literally only because what's the motivation right now for Kansas City? If all they want to do is basically be like, we just got to get into the playoffs. I mean, do they care at this stage if they're going to be the home field advantage throughout? I don't know that they are that worried about that. It's not a matter of who's a better team. It's a matter of, how long can they get up for these games? Just get into the playoffs. We'll take it from there.
I think it comes more from the other side, Beer Man. I think it's the crosshairs are on their back every week. The other team is going to be gunning for them. I'm not going to sit here and question Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce's motivation to win a game. That would be asinine, I think.
Well,
but I do think that the other teams that on the other side of the field are going to try harder this year to have something to say about him.
I think Mahomes has earned his paycheck, but how many guys are on that offensive line or a middle linebacker that's sitting there going, oh, we've won 2 in a row. I'm going to get mine. And then, it's like, oh, I haven't got paid. Mahomes can't win it all on his own.
Where are you, Brad?
Nothing like hearing the beer man say, "I'm going to get mine. I'm going to get mine."
Girl.
I'm going to get mine. And coming up next on Jerry Springer, yes, exactly, torrid affairs that you never knew of. Coming up next on Jerry Springer. Anyway, yeah, on this one, it's to me the Eagles win this division, but I'm not going to lay minus 135. I would take the no plus 105 if I had to take anything here. No for the Eagles, but it's not a bet. This is not a division where I look to play anything. Potentially, maybe you could include this with a parlay with the Chiefs and another team we have coming up, but I wouldn't do it. But yeah, so this is another kind of off limits for me. But yeah, it's the Eagles division, win or lose. But that minus 135 steers.
Game. Stop talking.
Next division.
NFC North. Well, I'm glad to see that some things never change, ladies and gentlemen. I will beat this out of them in the desert if they act this way. I can promise you. Detroit Lions, everybody's favorite, plus 135 to win the NFC North. Packers, second choice, plus 210. Looky here. Bears, plus 380. Vikings are a long shot, plus 170. Beer man, of course, the floor is yours.
How are the Vikings the long shot at plus 170 when the Bears are plus 380?
Plus 750. I apologize.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I do 100% believe that this is the hardest division in football. And it's not just because I'm a Bears fan. The Packers, they are an incredibly young team. I think they were better than almost everybody expected last year. I think the Bears are potentially that team this year where they're better than people expect. But you got to give it up for, Detroit. They're motivated every week. I feel like they felt like they left it on the table last year. They were that close and didn't quite get there. I think this is Detroit's division to win. I think it's going to be a battle for a close second. Maybe 2 games back between Chicago and Green Bay, but I could see any of the 4 teams winning this division and not being surprised. But if I had to pick who's going to win the division, give me the Lions. Am I going to put money on another team in this division? You got that right. Go Bears. I'll at least put a little bit of money there. But I think the Lions win this division. Jared Goff could get hurt, and that could change everything.
I'm going to assume that Detroit and Green Bay's schedules are pretty equal up and down the line. It's hard to bet against Detroit. I love their coach. I love their gritty attitude. Jared Goff is a good quarterback, and he is the weakest link, in my opinion. I think Jameson Williams is going to have a sneaky good year, and I think they're going to be even better than they were last year. And that coach has no let up. And he has a way of effectively getting through to that team. And they probably have the best tight end. They probably have a tandem of the best running backs. They've got one of the best wide receivers. And we haven't even talked about their defense. So that I'm all in on Detroit in this division. Green Bay wouldn't surprise me to see them slip back a bit. I think they had a fortuitous season last year. I still think they're good, but I'm not going to give them a heads up over Detroit. Chicago, who knows? Minnesota is not going to be good this year. Coach Kevin there's got his work cut out for him. So, yep, give me the Lions.
You ever walk down the street in a big suit when it's about 100?
Nope.
And when it's about 100 and something degrees and you're drinking a big jug of milk. And then you look around and you say to yourself, milk was a bad choice. I'm going to immediately regret what I'm going to say, but I'm going to stick with it. Chicago Bears, NFC North champions, 2024. There you go, beer man. You say I'm always against you. You say I'm always against you. You say I'm always going crazy. I'm taking the Bears to win this division. Love them to go under 8.5 wins. We've seen the public and the market really move the juice here. Up to
over 8.5 wins, you mean?
Over 8.5 wins, yes. It started even money, and now you can find them so many places. Minus 160, minus 165. So the Sharps have come in here on the Bears. You got a coach who brought in all kinds of offensive talent, Third season for this coach, new offensive coordinator, and a new quarterback. And the Sharps are all over this. So I am with you. Bears to win. Love them on the win total. But if you're going to ask me who's going to win this division, yeah, it's easy to say Lions minus plus 135. I'll take the Bears, almost 4-1, plus 380. You heard it, Beer Man.
That's not milk you're drinking. That's Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. I was getting ready to say the same thing. Beer Man's pants look like they've gotten a little bit tighter. Just keep talking, Brad.
In the
I
frontal
know they have. He's pitching
in
a
the
tense.
frontal crotchal region. The way the pleats are.
Yes, well, Dr. Rithchen has just called him to let him know of his impending pregnancy. There we go. All right, so there you go, folks. I'm on the Bears. I'm sorry. I immediately regret this, saying it in front of the Beer Man. So, yeah.
I hope you're right.
I hope you forget this by the time we get to October. Is what I forget.
I've got it written down.
There you go. In blood, I'm sure.
Diary.
I got it right.
Veronica Corningstone said something funny today. Go ahead, the NFC South now. With the
NFC
Atlanta
South.
Falcons.
Good Lord. Falcons minus 145. How in the God's name could that happen? The next favorite is the Bucks. Tampa Bay plus 360. Saints plus 400. Panthers 14-1. Dylan, you're up.
I think Beer Man's up.
Okay, Beer Man, you're up.
So again, this is one who I think is going to win the division. My opinion is when you look at a division, you can kind of look as to who the best quarterback is and feel pretty confident that that's going to be the division winner. I think Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback in this division, but Baker Mayfield, I think, found a home in Tampa Bay that he likes and they like him. So do I think Atlanta's going to win this division? Yes. But if I'm putting money down, I'm putting money on Tampa Bay right here to get the practically 4-1 return on it. The Panthers are still in rebuild mode. I think they're a few years away. I think the Saints are almost going the opposite direction where they're going to need to rebuild here pretty soon, get rid of some of those pieces to try to get, some more draft picks. So I think it comes down to Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Again, I think Atlanta wins, but if I'm laying money, I'm going to lay money on the Bucks.
Well, Carolina is not in the conversation, right?
No.
It's, Tampa Bay and New Orleans sort of have the same issues with the O-line and more to the point for Tampa Bay, the D-line. They were the top 2 or 3 of the fewest sacks last year, and the edge rusher issue still hasn't gone away, and they've had a couple of injuries here in the preseason. And the interior offensive line, I think they lost somebody there, so it's suspicious that Tampa Bay, as good as they played last year overall, are at that much of a discounted price. I don't think that I can go against Atlanta here, although I wish I could. So I'm taking the Falcons to win it, and I don't really have a bet in this division. There's no money there to be made.
What was the Falcons' win total last year? I mean, what was their final record?
They had 7 wins.
There
didn't
you
they?
go. Yeah, you wouldn't think they had 7 wins, would you? They had 7 wins with Desmond Ridder at quarterback most of the year. So now you replace a pedestrian quarterback with not exactly a Super Bowl quarterback, but a Kirk Cousins, and you would expect a lot better performance. Win total is 9.5 here. I'm going over win total for the Falcons. But to win this division, it's Falcons or nobody. But to lay minus 145 on the Falcons to win this division, no, I can't do that. They win the division. I'll go over their win total 9.5. But I'm not laying. I don't lay money when it comes to these divisional futures. But I don't like any of these other teams because I don't like any of their quarterback situations. Baker Mayfield maybe, but that's very, very hit and miss when it comes to him in this spot. It would be Bucks or nobody here because I certainly am not going to take the Saints and definitely not the Panthers. But it's Bucks or nobody, but I'd rather take nobody and just go over with the Falcons win total.
Let's not forget that the Falcons were not a good team on the road last year either. Even though their defense was pretty solid last year and they added a couple of nice pieces in the secondary, they still were 2-7 on the road last year. which is not good.
Again, I think you go right there to Desmond Ridder, and you can.
I mean, there's no question that they had quarterbacking problems, but who's to say that Kirk Cousins is going to play 3 games this year? I mean, he may not come back from the injury last year.
But you know what? I like their backup.
I like Michael Penix too. I think he is strong. I think he's solid. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. But he's still a rook, and
but
that's a big ask.
He was one of the more accurate quarterbacks, in college.
Hands down,
up in Washington.
Hands down, the weakest division in the NFL.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
NFC.
There may not be.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to go to the next division. Next game.
Okay. There may not be 25 wins in that division this year.
Next.
I mean, it could happen.
That's. I think that's low, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Next game. The NFC West. Niners minus 220. Brandon Ayuk may not be a Niner very much longer. Christian McCaffrey out for the entire preseason. Panic in the streets. Doesn't affect the odds. Rams plus 390. Seahawks plus 785. Cardinals plus 1325. Dylan.
Woo. What was the line on San Francisco?
Minus 220. Not as high as the Chiefs, but still up there.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that, can you? You just can't lay that bet. What's the field in that division?
Plus 180 if you say anyone other than the Niners.
Because the Rams and the Seahawks both have a shot. The Cardinals, I mean, you never know. They didn't play terrible after Kyler Murray joined the team mid-season last year. Having said that, I don't think the Cardinals are going to do much. The Rams have a few injuries in this preseason, so it's. But early on, I like the Rams a little bit. I can't bet on San Francisco, but I think they're the one to win it. It's in the numbers, Beerman.
It's kind of interesting. Most divisions, you would say you're going to go as your quarterback goes. I think San Francisco is the exception to that rule. I think as long as Trent Williams is upright, that San Francisco is a good team. I think the Rams win this division. I think every move that they made in the offseason, with the exception of the retirement of, the defensive end, Hall of Famer. This is what happens when you're just completely blanking. With the exception of that retirement. Huh?
Aaron Donald,
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough to talk on the fly when you're looking at all this stuff. But with the exception of his retirement, yeah. And plus, I think the Rams I think the rivalry between, the two coaches there is something. But I thought the Rams had an unbelievable offseason. I think Stafford is better than Brock Purdy. You know what? I think the Rams are kind of the sneaky team to jump up and grab a division this year because everybody's so high on San Francisco. But Kittle's a year older. Purdy, I hear
the word on the street is that all of their players are a year older.
1 year old,
which is crazy.
Exactly.
Wow.
1 year.
How did this happen?
But I just, I can't continue to ride with Purdy year after year. So, yeah, give me the Rams just to win in this division.
They've got some issues on the O-line right now. There's 2 or 3 other guys that are suffering some form of ailment.
I think if you parlay Chiefs and Niners both to win their divisions, I think that's a loser bet. I really do. I just don't see both of them winning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that. It's too obvious, right? Too easy.
It makes, the conventional wisdom is, well, I got 2 minus 200 choices here. I'll just parlay both of them, and, I'll make easy money at the end. I think I wouldn't be shocked if one of those just didn't come through and you're sitting on a loser bet by the time you get to week 16. But, it's Niners and nobody here, but I'm not laying minus 220. The no at plus 180, that would be something I would look at, but for me to sit here and say that the Rams are going to jump up and beat the Niners this year, it's possible, but I just don't want to take a chance on that right now. So I would say no, Niners would be the only pick I would make for this division. But, let's watch how the McCaffrey news comes and the Brandon Ayuk. I don't think that'll move the meter very much, but I think McCaffrey would move the meter. So that's something to look for. So there you have it,
We-
folks. Go ahead.
We haven't talked about Seattle in that division either. And Seattle could be a little sneaky. They've been, they and the Saints have both been in rebuild mode for the last couple of years. The Saints are still at the very precipice of rebuilding. Seattle, on the other hand, has done a pretty good job, and their defense is going to be something decent this year. So,
Well, they got rid of Pete Carroll.
they got rid of Pete Carroll, which might not be a bad move. I am a skeptic when it comes to new coaches coming in for their first year too, but I don't know. This might not be a bad move for them.
Pete Carroll's one of those guys, like when Harbaugh left San Francisco, I think he had the pulse on the team so well that whoever the new coach is just going to lose the room a little bit with some of those players. San Francisco or Seattle, I don't know who the voice is in that. I mean, Geno Smith, I don't know if he's a leader that can get them over a young coach.
Yeah. Well, if Geno Smith is solid and the coach doesn't make any stupid decisions and the defense gets shored up a little bit, they'll be in the running. They'll have a shot.
I think they're a 500 team at best. DK Metcalf is literally your leader in the clubhouse, and there was talk of him leaving in the offseason, being traded to the Bears. So
Agree to disagree.
when in Rome.
Best bets for the division, boys. What do you got?
For winning their divisions, I would have to say I'd probably start with San Francisco. I'd probably go to Cincinnati, second, third, or fourth. Kansas City obviously would be, and Houston would be nearby. Here, man.
My best bet, I'm going to go with Philadelphia. After that, I'm kind of leaning toward Jacksonville. There's just so much hype around Houston. And then, after that, I'd probably say Detroit. I think they've got all the motivation in the world. I think Chicago or Green Bay makes the playoffs, or potentially even both. But that would be my top three right there.
As a fan, you're excited to see what your Bears do this year.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
We all are anxious and curious as to where they go this season. Brad, what do you think?
Favorite plus money, Houston. A second favorite, Bengals. And then the third favorite in their division, Bears. Those are my three best divisional bets as we sit here on August 7th. Of course, a lot of this could change by the time we get to the Circa, coming up in 2 weeks. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are our Mac Daddy Stogies, our best bets for your NFL divisions. Final thoughts, guys.
Excited. One word. Beer man.
I'm right there with you. I mean, there's, this part of the season, there's a lot of hope. And for some teams that feel like they've been kind of on the precipice of maybe taking that next step, this is kind of where we get to be like, we're going to be there. We're going to be there. So, yeah, excitement, hope. Is it going to be anybody other than Kansas City this year? I hope so.
I hope so. Enough is enough.
And
I think
go ahead.
I think that it's pretty accurate to say that we all feel like Detroit or Philadelphia will be or San Francisco will be representing the NFC.
I still think the NFC is very wide open.
Do you?
I think the
division
NFC
has gotten better.
Very wide open.
The division has gotten better.
When I think of the beer man having hope, this is usually how it ends. Yeah,
we're under a new construct here with the Bottom Line Sports Rocker podcast.
Isn't it great?
Beer man and I are in the Classic Rock 92.1 studios. Brad is at home.
Yeah, we're hustling. We're
trying some new things.
Yeah, we're taking care of business. I got some things to attend to. But a Dennis Dillon joke that you'll still get this treatment. And then
Jesus.
when Brad makes his picks, and this is what you'll hear. Yeah. Woo. Yeah.
And that's the time I say next game.
Yeah. I've noticed every time I try to brag, Dillon does not like it. But anytime that he brags about himself, we just have to put up with it, beer man. I'm not so sure why that's the case, but.
This is a shock, but I brought these stats from last year.
And now that's the end of the show.
In third place.
The end
had
of
a
the
bad
show
year
is
last
here.
year.
We don't look through the rear view mirror. We go through the windshield here on the Bottom Line Sports Rocker podcast. Farting
Beerman,
shots.
were you in first place last year? With our picks?
You caught me in the last 2 weeks.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
I did that the year before, too.
Was it? Well, maybe that was last year then.
Oh, well.
You know what? I really don't have the stats in front of me. I will see if I still have that sitting around the house somewhere.
Time for us to wrap this up on a Wednesday evening. It's Wednesday, right?
Yes.
It is
Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's 2
I have to
weeks.
download the flashback program.
2 weeks.
Live from Lexington, Kentucky, with 85 degrees and sunshine and a little bit of rain about an hour ago. This has been the Bottom Line Sports Rocker podcast for preseason week number 1. We are off and running. For Beerman and Classic Rock 92.1, my name is Dennis.
That's the Bill Biv DeVoe horn. You know that, right?
And now with your closing statements, Brad Taylor.
Thanks so much for listening. And until the next time, as always. No? Suck it, Stivers? No?
No, just yours.
No.
Just mine?
We got legal gambling. We're good with Stivers for right now.
Are we? Don't we have anybody else we can pick on?
No, just may the winners be. We're going to pick on you.
Other
May the
than
winners
you?
be yours.
No.
Other than Cutler? I mean, other than me? Oh, okay.
Just you.
Until
You
the
mean
next,
Alan?
yes. Until the next time, as always, may the winners be yours. Thank God I'm not in the same room with you guys. But of course, we all love Brad Taylor, right?